On to our top focus for this hour. Voting has ended in a landmark referendum in Turkey as its citizens vote to decide on the key question of whether they wish to continue with the parliamentary democracy or adopt an executive presidential system with sweeping powers concentrated in the president's office. According to reports, the yes faction is leading at this moment. A yes vote in the referendum will give the incumbent President Erdogan new powers, which include the authority to assign ministers, high-level state officials, any number of vice presidents, as well as half the members in the country's highest judicial body. It will also allow the president to dissolve the parliament and issue executive decrees and announce emergencies. Now, many opinion polls have said that the voting is too close to call. While the incumbent president remains confident, his critics, including several from the EU leadership, are hoping that the elections deliver a blow to his term. Now, some have even described the vote as being an affront to democracy. It has been only months since Erdogan defied a military coup. Now, Turkey's leader of 14 years is on the cusp of a victory that would make him one of the G20's most powerful heads of state. Constitutional amendments being considered would give him the authority to appoint ministers and judges at his discretion and call elections at any time. Now, historically, India has shared a close relationship with Turkey, supporting the creation of the country under Kemal Atatürk. Both countries also share key defense ties with annual naval exercises. Trade has also increased, with Erdogan visiting India in 2008 and signing several trade agreements. Going beyond bilateral ties, Turkey and India have partnered each other on several international issues, including on climate change. Why don't we open this up for discussion now? Ambassador Shilkant Sharma is joining us here in WION studios, diplomat and former Secretary General. Also joining us is Joel Whittaker, security analyst. We'll also be joined in just a short while by Dr. Wael Awad, writer and political analyst and South Asia expert. Ambassador Sharma, if I can come to you first, just to help our viewers in India, understand to what extent this is set to impact relations between India and Turkey. Now, the way we're looking at this right now, the yes faction is leading according to the latest figures that are trickling in. Also, according to many, this would mean that Turkey is sliding closer towards dictatorship. But what, at the outset, does this mean for India and Turkey relations?
I would say that as far as relations between India and Turkey are concerned, the president has been there in power for last several years. He's visited here before.
Yes.
And irrespective of the outcome of the referendum, Erdogan will be in Turkey. He will be the leader with whom we have established a good cordial relations. And as you described in your opening remarks, trade has improved and a number of things are going well with Turkey. So India will continue with that process, and even as part of our own diplomacy, the internal matters of a country do not come in the way of how we deal with the country. So the referendum is entirely an internal matter of Turkey, and India's policies have been not to interfere with. That said, there is this aspect about Turkey's referendum which, given its democratic process, is no different from, say, the referendum made last year in Britain for Brexit.
Right.
So you cannot actually hold anything against referendum as such. As for the demand or requirement of the referendum positive vote to give more powers to the president, this is part of an overall trend the world over towards the right and towards greater authority to the leadership. This is it's a global trend.
Right.
Now, the important point is whether that is democratically given or arbitrarily given. But the fact that Erdogan is going through a democratic process of taking a referendum and asking people to decide, you cannot find fault with him. European Union has a particular position because they have further refined their democratic precepts.
Right.
And they are not in favor of authoritarian leadership.
Right.
They would like, so that's the reason why they may have reservations.
Dr. Wael Awad also through with us. Dr. Awad, nothing wrong with a strong president, many would say, but would you agree that this goes a bit too far?
Well, it is a one-man show because it is a parliamentarian system set up in Turkey. It has been Mustafa Ataturk, Kemal Ataturk, who has run the country on a secular basis. Now we have a president who is planning to put all the power in his hand, which is called Erdogan Turkey, which is a clear indication that it's a one-man show. So if that is the scene, that we are not going to see amendment of 18 articles to the constitution. In fact, what we are going to see is a new constitution which will give him the supreme power and executive power, that he will be the sultan, or if I can call him the khalifa of Turkey for the years to come, because he will be in power till 2029. So if he survives, or if he stay alive till then.
Right, Mr. Whittaker, Turkey is the bellwether of the political forces shaping the world. All eyes on this vote. Your thoughts on what this will mean for the entire region?
Yeah, and I think the entire region obviously is in need of stabilization. Don't forget, Turkey has about 500 miles of its border with Syria, with northern Syria. And so certainly the people of Turkey are looking for stability. They're looking for a strong leadership. And many of them will see that in Erdogan. Of course, I would suggest that the question might be, perhaps in the lead up to the referendum, whether the no side has been given enough air. Certainly, I just came from Istanbul. I saw a lot of yes posters. I didn't see quite so many no's.
That's interesting that you point that out. In fact, we are, of course, keeping a close eye on the latest that's coming in. The Yes faction seems to be leading, but that, of course, is only as of now. We will have to wait and watch for the final results to really come in. Interesting, Ambassador Sharma, also, if I can come to you at this point, how you were mentioning that Eastern Turkey showing a conservative outlook when it comes to this vote. So no surprises there, as you were mentioning, if the Yes faction seems to be leading in the eastern part.
Yes, you know, Turkey is very unique in many ways. It's a very large country in terms of population. It is larger than many of the European countries. But over the last several decades, it has been nudging itself closer to European Union. It was at one time the ambition of Turkey to join the European Union. And the Americans were very keen that Turkey joins European Union, thereby softening the radical factors in Turkey's polity. However, the rightward drift in Europe itself has worked against Turkey's joining, and there are important countries in Europe which have held reservations. That to the liberals, like if you visit Istanbul, as one of our panelists said, you know, they have conformed to European rules. Most of the European Union, those countries who want to join it, before joining it, they get into their system a lot of the European practices and procedures. So Turkey has been doing this. But in spite of that, Europe is not accepting them. Now that has been a kind of a difficult thing for Turkey to absorb. And given the kind of radical expansion in the entire Middle East and transformation of Middle East, the situation in Syria.
Yes.
So because of that, there is this very radical Islamic or political Islam's ascendance all over the country.
Taking a cue from that, Mr. Whittaker, if you would like to come in here, it is indeed a test of whether democracy can be reconciled with political Islam, many are saying, and taking a cue from what Ambassador Sharma was just mentioning.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at the lead up to this referendum, actually, the no vote has been quite subdued, in part because many hundreds of people have been imprisoned, certainly since the coup last year against Erdogan, or the potential coup, I should say, that ultimately failed. And so the no vote has been incredibly quiet, not least because many people feel of an intimidation. They fear that they can't speak out because to speak out would seem anti and not on side with Turkey. And Turkey's clearly going through quite a nationalist phase at the moment, as we can see. And so looking ahead, I mean, it's early indications yet, but the vote it's a yes, sort of 60-40, I believe. So looking ahead, if that is a go, if Erdogan does indeed get these extraordinary powers, then is it a democracy or is it more of a one-man show? That's I guess time will tell.
Time will certainly tell. Dr. Awad, Turkey playing a vital part when it comes to peace in Syria, when it comes to the larger issue of peace in Syria. When it comes to that, how do you see this referendum really impacting that dimension?
Well, to speak the truth, that Turkey is not doing good in Syria. That is the fact. It is the contrary. Turkey is responsible for the mess in Syria. Turkey have opened 950 kilometers of border with Syria for the mercenaries and terrorists and all the ammunitions and the trained terrorists into Syria, which we have seen the war in Syria for the last 6 years. Turkey policy have been not good even with any neighbors. In fact, it was a problem with neighbors. That was the agenda set by the government, but later on it turned out to be a problem with all the neighbors. So they had a problem with Syria, they have a problem with Egypt, they have a problem with Europe, they had a problem with Russia, then Iran, name it, and they're only friendly with Israel and now with the United States, because the European feeling worried about Erdogan behavior actually, but they are bailing him for two reasons. One, that he is too close to Russia. They don't want him to be in Russian hand, on one hand, and also they wanted to see that the regime change policy in Syria is being implemented as per the policy they have set up for many countries within the 90s. So therefore, I think Turkish future, in fact, will be at jeopardy, because he will polarize the society inside, and the Kurd within Syria are, of course, not happy with the referendum. Neither the Kurd within Turkey, which constitute more than 30% of the population. So therefore, if we look at the split of vote between the people who are saying yes, there will be more of the people saying yes. So of course, he will get the majority in this. But the fact of the matter is that most of the opposition party, more than 550 personalities from Turkey has refused this kind of a referendum, which is a clear indication that he will have the supreme power, like what we have seen on the 30s in Europe, like Hitler, like Mussolini's, and then we are heading for more trouble. So I don't see he will play a major role in stabilizing Syria. In fact, we are seeing yesterday or day before yesterday, the killing and the massacre of the moderate rebels, which he supports, and the United States have blown up convoys of innocent children inside Syria. So I don't see any future of his playing. In fact, he dragged himself into the Syrian quagmire, which will have a backfire on him for the future.
Right, Mr. Whittaker, the judiciary, many are saying, would be among those to suffer the most when it comes to this harshest crackdown that many are calling it by President Erdogan. According to you, is Turkey taking a step backwards? Because many are saying that it has already gone backwards, and this weekend could have in fact set that right. But would you say that this would be a lost opportunity if the yes factor would win?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a large feeling in Turkey. It's obviously very polarized society, that actually a yes vote is a step back. It is a step back from democracy, and one that's into leading Erdogan to have ultimate and supreme power. So I do believe there is a large feeling of that within Turkey and abroad as well, amongst the many foreign nationals and many Turkish nationals, that are living abroad and that are able to vote too. That said, there is a need for a strong leadership in the region, and many Turks feel that they need a strong leader, and they see that in Erdogan, and they see that in his policies and what he intends to do with this supreme power. And so it could be that that's a stabilizing influence in the region, and there is a need for a stabilizing influence in the region. Let's not forget the threats internally in Turkey, as your last panelist just said about the Kurdish separatists, certainly are a large threat. But IS as well, Islamic State, coming across in droves from a rapidly collapsing Syria, are liable to further destabilize the country and cause more terrorist attacks. And so there is a need for strong leadership and stability in this region. Whether or not Erdogan can provide this, in his, in a newly formed parliament with him as sort of the power of the head, the president, then remains to be seen. Who knows?
Ambassador Sharma, yes, you would like to come in here as well. And also, if you can apprise our viewers of what to expect from President Erdogan's visit to India later this month, of course, will be the first after this referendum.
Well, as I said, a relationship with India stands on a nation-to-nation basis, yes. And, the kind of sinews of bilateral contact which we have built over the last several decades. And so that relationship is bound to grow, and greater central authority actually at times works for efficiency. But I'm not a firm believer in that.
Okay.
I'm just saying sometimes it has been found that more efficient leaders or more authoritarian leaders make things happen faster.
Right.
However, Turkey has internal problems. The terrorism incidents which have happened in Turkey, Istanbul attacks, and now to deal with that and this discontented lot, to deal with them, greater authority is no panacea.
Right.
You see, in France, for instance, the presidential system is there, but still France is not able to cope with the kind of a domestic terrorist incidents. They even declared emergency, but still, incidents happen in Nice, and so. This business of greater authority,
right.
Somehow or the other, there's a bit of hubris all over the world at the moment. Masses think there's enough of democracy, let's have a strong leader. And then you have, that kind of a trend, which is historically it comes, and as one of these commentators said, maybe there's a 70 or 80-year cycle that these things come back.
Right.
But we've had experience of that in the past,
sure.
That they lead to disasters. So, a healthy skepticism about greater authority being concentrated in one person is the hallmark of democracy, and I think
right.
So that is, that's where we should feel the pressure should be.
Well, over the next few hours, we will have greater clarity on which faction is ultimately winning and which direction is Turkey headed in. Thanking all our guests for joining us on this discussion, but also requesting Ambassador Sharma and Mr. Whittaker to continue to stay on with us for the next discussion as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Awad. With that, we're taking a short break. Much more coming up on the other side. Stay with us.